Hello and welcome everyone with another Midnight Snack episode. I am Don and I'm here with Bean. Hello Bean, how are you?
I'm doing so well. We've got some interesting news here to talk about on this midnight snack, don't we?
Yes, quite interesting. So, you guys are painting the entire flag to red?
Better red than dead. Wait.
Because I don't know if this news will fit the ideas of democracy at all, but I think it's leaning towards more the ideas of communisms. So the news that we are going to talk about is the Supreme Court effectively abolishes the right to mass protest in 3 US states. And what is crazy to me that it's happening in the South. And I thought the South like hates the communist ideas.
Yeah, but they also hate people protesting for Black Lives Matter. I see these signs because I'm actually just recently moved to the South, and you see people with like bumper stickers, and it's not like a ton, but you'll see like all lives matter. And it's like, okay, like you don't have to be threatened by somebody who's like fighting for their rights. Like it doesn't have to be about you all the time.
Doesn't it though? Just a little bit. No, I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
okay,
Yeah,
my
I
bad.
agree with
Sorry.
you. No, 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 no. So, guys, what happened here is the person who organized the Black Lives Matter protest being held responsible for one of the assault on a police officer who is named as Officer John Doe in the court files, who was assaulted. A rock was thrown at him in his face, by the way, and he suffered major injuries to his teeth, jaw, brain, and head. And before we go anywhere, I would like to say that I hate when a peaceful protest turns into a violent one. I disagree with that. I think the idea of protest should remain peaceful. I don't think we should beat up each other, but rather have a reasonable debate or conversation about why we are protesting instead of turning to violence.
I have a thought about that. I don't know if you remember, there was a football player who kneeled during our national anthem in protest of racial divide in our country. It was a black football player, and it was like basically his form of peaceful protest. Like, I'm not going to kneel for this national anthem. You know, I don't believe that this is like a fair and equal state. And it's crazy to me because people, and I'm not talking about you, just in general here in the US, people have this sentiment like, oh, we need peaceful protests. Like, you know, if the Black Lives Matter people want their voices to be heard, you know, you have to like be respectful and be peaceful. And then when he did that, they were like, oh, well, not like that. Like, you can't disrespect our national anthem. I mean, he literally peacefully and quietly protested. You know, it was public, but then people were like calling for him to like lose his job and, you know, take away his salary and he needs to be punished for this. I mean, like, that's not his right to peacefully protest. Like, it's just so wild to me how people say,
I
like, what
disagree with that though. So I think he has every right to protest like that. And people saying that, oh, he went too far with a peaceful protest, I don't think so. With a peaceful protest, as long as you are not violent towards anyone else, I don't think you can go far because you remain peaceful and you
right?
try to use your influence, in this case as a football player, to show that you disagree with something. And you should be able to use your tools to influence people.
I agree. I mean, it was just such a great example of how, you know, I think he did everything right in terms, like you said, of peaceful protest, and people
Mhm.
were just so pissed at him even still. It's just proof that it's never enough for people that oppose those views. Like it was as peaceful as he could have been, and people were still pissed. So
But it seems in Louisiana, Texas, and Mississippi, people don't have to worry about protesting anymore because the Mckesson case, set a precedent that protest organizers can be financially held liable if their protest is breaking the boundaries of peace.
yeah, basically, you can organize a protest, and if anything goes south, no pun intended, if anything goes south, you know, you can be held responsible for the actions. Like, let's just say you have 2,000 people show up to a protest. If one of those people goes to violence, you know, they start throwing bricks or they, you know, start attacking police officers or whatever, you're now responsible for that person and their actions. I mean, that's the precedence of this case, right?
That's kind of the precedence, but the precedence is that it's setting it so comic to me. It's not funny, but it's comical because they say you will be. So the First Amendment protects you as a protest organizer to be held liable in a mass protest for the individual's action. So if someone does something illegal, the First Amendment protects you as the protest organizer to be held liable for that attendee's unlawful behavior. And I think that's absolutely necessary, because if you organize a mass protest, you are not there mom and dad holding 1,000 people's hand.
Exactly. Yeah.
You are not standing there to slap on hands if they try to do something bad. Of course, as a protest organizer, you have to do everything in your power to stop the protest to turn into a riot, but it is impossible that you can influence every individual.
Right. Absolutely. You can't be held accountable for thousands of people. It's just not possible. You can't be watching everybody all the time. Okay, so that's the idea behind this case, basically.
You are protected by the First Amendment. And this case says unreasonably dangerous conditions created. So basically, they say you created unreasonably dangerous conditions during your protest. They say it to Mckesson, and hence you are liable. The First Amendment is not protecting you anymore. And what were those unreasonable dangerous conditions? The protest to begin in front of the police station, obstructing access to the building, for failing to dissuade protesters who allegedly stole water bottles from a grocery store, and for leading the assembled protest onto a public highway in violation of Louisiana criminal law. Now, guys, I'm sorry. Again, you as a protest organizer cannot be held responsible if someone steals something in a mass protest. You
Right.
just can't. About the traffic law violation, I have a picture here with Dr. Martin Luther King and his protest. God bless his memory. According to this ruling, Martin Luther King is doing a criminal act and he should be held liable for the protests he did in the 60s.
Because they were protesting and they were walking down the street.
Yeah, his mass protest wasn't on the sidewalk, he was on the road. Hence, he created unreasonably dangerous conditions, according to this new ruling.
So, guys, basically, just to get right to the point, why should we care? Why are we concerned about this? Because you have an institution now who's going to determine from inside their own views whether or not you're breaking a law by making it unsafe. Obviously, the government doesn't want people to protest, whether it's peaceful, whether it's not. They don't want it. They don't want any of that smoke, right? So, of course, the incentive for them is to be like, oh, we found this to be unreasonably dangerous.
And what is an unreasonably dangerous condition? Now, I would like to read this. A Fifth Circuit Judge, Don Villay, who dissented from his court's Mckesson decision, warned in one of his dissents his court's decision would make protest organizers liable for the unlawful acts of counter protesters and agitators. So, under the Fifth Circuit's new rule, a Ku Klux Klansman could sabotage the Black Lives Matter movement simply by showing up at its protest and throwing stones. How crazy is that?
Dude. Uh, it's almost like a fucking caricature. It's like something that you would see in a movie. It's so fucking silly. I mean, how can you be responsible? I mean, we have the Proud Boys now, which I think are about as racist as they get, and they love to go and do that kind of like antagonistic shit to people. So if you're a Proud Boy and you're listening to this, fuck you.
I don't even know what
Anyway.
that is, so I agree
It's just
with you.
like a
Just
white, I'm
fuck
proud
you.
to be, yeah, fuck you. I'm proud to be an American, you know. But if they show up and they start causing hassle, basically, you're, as the original peaceful protester, are going to be held accountable if somebody shows up and causes a rift with you. I'm sorry, like, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
But you created these unreasonably dangerous conditions.
Yeah, you should have taken into account before protesting that somebody would come and try to, like, grift with you or whatever. No, dude.
Now, before this law, the First Amendment only didn't protect the protest organizers if they heated the situation by their speech, like if they encouraged people to become violent or started a riot. But that wasn't the case in the Mckesson one. It wasn't the case that he was encouraging the protesters to become violent. It turned into violent and it was out of his control. So I don't think that he should be held liable for what happened there. And again, saying that protesting in front of a police station is creating unreasonably dangerous condition, we, with our tax money, pay them. So
And if you're not happy with their behavior, you should be able to go there and fucking express that. That's our God-given American right or whatever. We also needed to talk about the fact that this was appealed to the Supreme Court and they decided, no, we're not gonna get involved in this.
The Supreme Court actually didn't listen to the case at all. So they didn't say the ruling was rightful, they didn't say it was unrightful. They just didn't pick it up. They denied to even listen to this. So as of now, this ruling can be used as precedent. So protest organizers in these three states could be held financially liable for anything that happens during their protest in Louisiana, Texas, and Mississippi, because this is a very dark gray area. What is exactly unreasonably dangerous condition? And if the court finds that during your protests you created or you didn't steer the people away from these unreasonable dangerous conditions, you will be financially liable for anything that happens, which is absolutely fucking crazy. Because who in their right mind would organize a protest knowing that if any agitators shows up, people who just simply disagree with your protest, and they try to agitate your people, you are financially liable then? It basically takes away your First Amendment protection to organize protests in these three states. Now, the Supreme Court, not picking up this case, said the good ruling law applies. So it can be used as a precedent, but it doesn't mean the Supreme Court will not pick up other cases in the future. But as of now, you better shut up.
What I was going to say about the Supreme Court, though, is why this is so dangerous that the Supreme Court didn't want to touch this case. Is now this is going to embolden other states. They're going to look at these three states now who had this ruling that the Supreme Court didn't want to touch because they don't want to get involved, even though it is literally the job of the Supreme Court to uphold like American rights and to make sure that the people are protected and represented. So the fact that they didn't want to touch this case is fucking shocking to me. So we have three states right now that are going to use this. What do you think the other states are going to do? They're going to look at this and be like, holy shit, like we can just do that? We can just determine that any protest that doesn't suit us is unsafe and then just fucking dismiss them? I mean, it's a huge tool for the government, for the states to take away people's rights directly. So, I mean, this is like a super problematic thing. It's a ripple effect that we're going to see.
And I think the Supreme Court doesn't realize it can create a more dangerous scenario, because when people get fed up, it will lead to riots. When people will just go to the fucking street, unorganized, and just burn everything down when
Yeah.
they fed up.
And they're not going to be able to find anyone accountable.
Liable. Exactly. Then who's gonna be held fucking liable for anything?
Yeah, we're all just gonna fucking show up and burn the city down. Well, I mean, I'm not. I would never do that. That's crazy. I would never do that. This is such a dangerous time that we're in because there's a lot of unease in the public right now. And I personally don't think that you get a lot of results done with peaceful protest. It's a way to blow off steam, but like usually people protest for a couple days and then it just kind of like disbands. The government just waits us out. So now you're taking away that right for people to blow off their steam. And like you said, I mean, what's the next step? Then there are going to be riots. And then maybe you'll see some results because, like, if hundreds of thousands of people showed up for a protest, what are you going to do with them all? You know what I mean? Yeah, I think they're making some mistakes here that are going to be very problematic in the future.
The other crazy part that I would like to mention here again, that as the judge said, if a Ku Klux Klan shows up at a protest that was organized by black people, the black man who organized that protest will be held liable because the Ku Klux Klan showed up. Not the Ku Klux Klan will
I
stand
love
in
that. Ku
front of
Klux
the
Klan.
clan. Sorry,
No, I loved
I'm
it.
mad. I'm fucking mad because can you imagine you organize the protest for your basic human rights and the racist son of a bitch shows up and you will be liable for that, not him showing up at your protest that you organized, that you notified the authorities that you will be there, and they just show up and you are the liable one? How
Fucking
is this
ridiculous.
logical?
Whackers bonkers.
Fuck them all. They are
Fuck
clowns.
them. I'm forever gonna refer to them as Ku Klux Clowns now because I've never heard that and that's fucking brilliant. I'm making a t-shirt. It's gonna say like
I mean,
I'm
they wear
doing it.
shit. I mean, that's clownish to me, if you ask
You
me.
fucking clowns. Like kick your ass. Yeah, I don't know, guys. This is a problem. This is a slippery slope that we're on right now in America, having our rights basically stripped away from us. So,
Leave us a comment about this, guys. What do you guys think? Is it right? Is it right?
it's like, what the fuck? Tell us what you think.
Okay, sweet dreams.
Okay, sweet dreams.